Hey everybody, just want to show you this tweet real quick. These Adam Johnson showed of these guys playing the world championship of Tetris or something like that, and I wasn't impressed too much, so I talk trash. I'm like, hey, where'd they get a load of me? And dude said I can keep up with these zoomers at that drop speed, and he wants to see it. And then he challenged me even more. He said, hey, if you can play Tetris while commenting on politics, we may have found your niche for Twitch. Well, YouTube doesn't work for me. YouTube is crap. So let's play some Tetris. You just missed this game where I I played 36 minutes and the screen wasn't recording. So you got to start at level 16 on this game. But it's cool. Here we go. I'll talk some politics in a minute. I just want to get the game established, get a nice little foundation. Uh-oh. Look, I messed up already. Oh. And man, I did an entire conversation earlier about Pete Buttigieg and homophobia in the black church. And, I got the audio from it, but I didn't get the video of it. It didn't record. Oh, it recorded only like 2 minutes of it, which I'm like, why? Why would you do that? But so I can do it. Okay, this was not starting well. Okay, watch me work. Let's clear this out real quick. Clear this out and establish the game. Boom. You didn't see that coming, did you? Nice and neat board now. Let's clean this up a little more. Shut up. Boom. So anyway, there's this preacher called Bishop Paul Morton. You know his son, PJ Morton. His son PJ Morton plays keyboard for Adam Levine's band, Maroon 5. And he also is a dope artist in his own right. Like, I love PJ Morton's work. Absolutely love it. I actually like his dad. Up until this point, his dad sent out a tweet earlier today. Boom. Basically saying that the Democratic Party better not be shouldn't get too liberal and try to elect a gay guy. Because America's not ready for a gay man to be president. Talking about Pete Buttigieg. Let me reassure you, Pete Buttigieg is trash. His politics suck, and he will not be the next president of the United States. But it will not be because he's gay. In fact, I think it is time for us to have a gay president. I think it's time for us to have a woman president. I'm ready for a gay communist Muslim president. Like, bump all that noise, all right? I'm trying not to cuss that much because I just got from church myself. And that's the irony. Like, last week, I had to talk and come to the defense of the black church from the onslaught from charlatans like Kanye West, right? So I spent the entire week last week talking about how radical the black church really is and how it how it has played and can continue to play a significant role in the liberation of marginalized people, not only here in America, but across the globe. And now this week, I've got to address the black church in a totally different way, because we can't do any of those things that the black church is totally capable of participating in if we are going to hang on to the homophobia. Now I'm going to show you a nice trick. I'm going to leave that space. Hopefully I can leave this. Oh yeah, here it comes. There's a nice, watch this. It's not what I wanted because the bottom came out, but boom. I like that little trick. So anyway, so last week I was defending the black church, and now I got to come down on them because people like Bishop Paul Morton, I mean, it's not just him, right? He sent out this homophobic tweet, and he was like, the traditional or the biblical definition of marriage and all this kind of stuff. The same stuff that you hear from conservatives. The irony of it is that, like, there is no traditional, the Bible has multiple definitions of marriage. I mean, look at King Solomon. Look at King David. Look at Abraham and the fact that he had a woman on the side that was ordained by a guy. You know what I mean? This definition of marriage that we have in the United States of America is a Puritan definition. It's not a biblical definition. I mean, we're going to go with the biblical definition, and there's all kinds of stuff that we can have. I mean, where are the rest of my wives, Shoot. But anyway, so he tweets this out, And it's really just rooted in homophobia. And this is where the weakness, this is where the Achilles heel of the black church is. All those things that I talked about last week, absolutely true. Absolutely can be a fundamental pillar in radical change in this country, challenging American imperialism, challenging white supremacy, challenging capitalism. It can be all those things, but not if it's going to be stuck in the hypocrisy of their homophobia. And I say the hypocrisy of their homophobia. Okay, that's messed up over there. The hypocrisy of the homophobia, because every church you go to, and this is kind of a trope, but there's some truth to almost every trope. Not every trope, but there's some truth to this trope. Every church you go to, their music departments particularly are gifted and benefit from the LGBTQ community, particularly gays. Like, church musicians historically have been tremendously talented and tremendously gay. And these pastors and these bishops have had no problem with benefiting from the talent of the LGBTQ community every single Sunday, just so long as they're quiet about their sexuality. And that's a level of hypocrisy that we got to address, right? Not only to mention like the fallacy of supporting this conservative idea of a traditional traditional definition of marriage that we have to enforce by law. That's the thing. Like, my dude, whatever you want to believe, you're free to believe it, because this is America, and you could teach it at your church. You could preach it at your church, and nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to force you to perform gay marriages or anything of the sort, despite all the fear-mongering and propaganda that Republicans like to spew. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to. You could do what you. But in terms of like defining by law what is marriage for other people who don't want to live by your rules, you don't have the right to do that. There is no traditional definition of marriage. Who defines what traditional is? What's traditional for you does not have to be traditional for me, so long as we're consenting adults, period. And that's there's another hypocrisy. Like, you got plenty of Christians who want, especially here in the South, who want to stretch that age for marriage down as low as they possibly can. They want to marry like little 14-year-olds. So anyway, there's a hypocrisy, but then there's also this overlap with white supremacy that is hilarious, because in one breath you talk about, Paul Morton, black preacher from New Orleans, moved over to Atlanta because of Hurricane Katrina, got a church built for him by Tyler Perry, and he speaks out against Donald Trump on a regular basis. Here's a black preacher who speaks out against Donald Trump on a regular basis, but now when it comes to same-sex marriage, he's going to start sounding exactly like Donald Trump and evangelicals who are working diligently against his own liberation. So I just find it like, how do you align yourself ideologically on any given day? I don't care. Yeah, okay, we can't be absolutists, and sure, Republicans like breathing air too. And so we're not going to stop breathing air just because Republicans breathe air. But that's the absurd extension of this, right? Here we are on a critical issue that is manipulated by conservatives. The fear of same-sex marriage or the pushing a traditional definition of marriage. Here we are with a tool, not only of white supremacy, but a tool of marginalization. And we have black pastors who are going to forward that. And it makes total sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It makes total sense because I know the history of the black church. I know the homophobia of the black church. Hell, I grew up with the homophobia of the black church. It's kind of weird. I was thinking about this earlier today. My father was a pastor for 40 years before he passed away. And I just know without a doubt, my dad would have been affirming, open and affirming. His churches wouldn't have been, because we are some traditional churches, but my dad would not have been a bigoted, homophobic. Like, he cared about people. Like a bigoted homophobe, he cared about people. He cared about every individual person. Every person mattered to him, no matter their orientation. I didn't get my homophobia from my dad. I got my homophobia from the black community in general, right? And especially growing up in the 90s, when you would say, call people punks, and you could say the F word like it was nothing. You know what I mean? So I got mine culturally, and I got mine in the community, and I got some of mine in the church, right? But I don't think I got it from my dad. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Don't get me wrong, like, he had his issues, but that wasn't one of them. And so I know the black church. I've grown up in the black church. Hell, I went to a black church this morning. And so I understand the source of this homophobia, but I also understand that the black church has always been on the cutting edge and can continue to be on the cutting edge of liberation if they just get over that homophobia. So now, like in the same breath that I want to promote the black church, as particularly the liberation gospel, it's like we got to address this, because here comes the old vanguard. Here comes the old heads who are so concerned about their traditional definition of marriage that they don't even respect themselves. You know what I mean? How many kids these preachers have out of wedlock, from members of their church, while their wife sits on the front pew embarrassed? How many times have we seen that over and over again? And you want to talk about marriage. You want to talk about the sanctity of marriage. Get the entire black hell out of here, whatever black hell is. So anyway, this is actually kind of boring, guys. I hope it's not boring to you, but it's like this level is kind of slow, and I wish I could pump this up to like level 26 and just get to it, but I'm having to work my way through. And I want to pause and make sure that this video is recording, because last time I did 30 minutes of this joint and the video wasn't recording. So I'll be so embarrassed if it's doing the same thing again. So all the things that, like, legitimate reasons we have to oppose Pete Buttigieg as black people and people in general, his sexuality is not one. I don't really care about the man's sexuality, and if it is the case, here's the thing: if it is the case that America's not ready for a gay president, if that's the case, we don't hide behind that. We confront that and we make America ready for one. Like, and it ain't gonna be Pete Buttigieg because his politics suck, but eventually there's gonna be a gay president. Just like there's going to be a woman president. And hopefully one day there'll be a gay Muslim communist president. Because, like, why the hell not? Let's liberation. Let's get as many people free as we possibly can. And one of the biggest barriers to our freedom is white male Christian supremacy. And I say that as a Christian, fully aware that as I go to church on Sunday mornings, I'm in a way worshiping the same God as white supremacists. It's because we have a fundamentally different view of God, but I have plenty of episodes that cover that. I'm not going to go over that again. You can check out my podcast for the rest of that conversation. But the point is, there are plenty of reasons to oppose Pete Buttigieg. His sexuality is not one. And there are many ways that Christianity, particularly the liberation gospel, particularly the black church, any church that has had to use religion as a tool to get set free. You got to understand, like, there's two constructs. I talked about this last week. There's all right, now I'm ready. I'm ready to have the conversation. There's a construct of using religion to maintain power for the powerful, and there's a construct of using religion to challenge the powerful, to liberate the oppressed, the marginalized people. And the question is what are you using your religion for? Well, it's funny because Bishop Paul Morton, on most days, he uses his religion to help free black people, to help liberate people. But then when it comes to same-sex marriage, he starts using his religion as an oppressor. It's hilarious how we can be both the oppressed and turn around and be the oppressor. Like, 1 minute you're talking liberation, and the next minute you're talking about oppression. 1 minute you're Moses, and the next minute you're Pharaoh. Come on, man, talk to me, somebody. I'm preaching while I'm playing Tetris. I'm not gonna say this is boring. I actually enjoying it. It's just this is my third time doing this, trying to get the recording right. And I swear to God, if this recording is not recording, you guys are never gonna see this greatness. So you have to pause. The black church is gonna have to pause and understand when it is using the gospel as a tool for liberation here in society. I'm not talking about the afterlife. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about heaven or hell. I'm talking about, how do you use your religion here right now? What do you use it for? Are you using it to liberate people? Or are you using it to oppress people? Because religion was used to oppress us for, oh, come on. Oh, the red light is still on. That's a good sign. That means it's still recording. I should have sipped some coffee. Hang on. Religion has been used to oppress us. And then we started reading it for ourselves and said, wait a minute, there's a lot of scriptures in here that we can use for our freedom. And we started getting our freedom. Now we got our freedom, and we're turning around and using religion to oppress the LGBTQ community. Come on, man. And the only reason I'm having a civilized conversation with you and not just calling y'all monsters or, whatever pejorative I come up with that day, in lieu of the profanity that I would love to use, but I'm not going to use it against the black church because I'm from the black church, but that's besides the point. You know what I can't do? I'm gonna be honest with you. What I can't do while I do this is go on long tangents and then come back like I do on my regular podcast. Like, I never lose my place in podcasts. Like, I can go on 5 different tangents and always come back, but I can't do that while I play Tetris. So I gotta stay focused. So at one time we were using religion now. We're using religion now as a tool of oppression, and we try to use it. We're trying to have our cake and eat it too as black folks and black church folks. Like, you're either going to fight for the liberation of all people here in this lifetime, and I'm not worried about the afterlife. You got the afterlife figured out. Great. We all got the afterlife figured out. Every religion has the afterlife figured out. What are you using your religion for here on earth? And if you're at any point you're using it to oppress a marginalized group, see, you can't force people to live the way you want them to live based on your interpretation of the Bible. And it is based on your particular interpretation of the Bible, because white folks want to they did interpret the Bible in a way that meant that you were a good slave. There was nothing, you was a nigga and you was a slave. That's how they interpreted the Bible. So you can't tell me interpretations of the Bible don't matter. So how is your interpretation of the Bible being used in this life? That's what matters more than anything else. You know what I mean? And so if you find yourself in the seat of the scornful, man, in the seat of the oppressor, like you in one breath, Bishop Morton is out here talking about fighting the injustices of the Trump administration. In the next breath, he's talking about, oh, we're not ready for no gay marriage with no gay president, sounding just like the white supremacists who would have lynched you on the Saturday night and then been in church on Sunday morning. So the black church can be useful, but if they can't get over the homophobia, and again, when I say get over your homophobia, I'm not saying that you got to start performing same-sex marriages at your church. It's your prerogative. But the same reason you're not going to ever have to be forced to perform same-sex marriages at your church is the same reason that's ultimately going to lead. Well, I mean, that's why Obergefell versus Hodges passed. And that's why same-sex marriage is the law of the land. You just don't have to perform it. And the reason you don't have to perform any is because the Constitution gives you separation of church and state and gives you religious freedoms, despite all the fear-mongering of Republicans. And it's funny, just this little thought process. It's funny that Christians are always fighting for the very thing that would come back to bite them in the ass and take away their religious freedom. They're always fighting to make America a theocracy, right? But what version of what version of Christianity is going to be a theocracy? Because let me tell you, there's no more divisions in Christianity than there is in the black church, right? You got so many denominations. Whose denomination is going to be the leader here in the United States? The Baptists, the Missionary Baptists, the Primitive Baptists, Church of God by faith, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal, who full gospel. Which version? And this is just in the black church. We ain't even got to all the white denominations. So which version of the Bible is going to be the law, the final lawgiver? And just because of that disagreement right there, if you ever got America to be a theocracy like so many Christians think that they want to make this a Christian nation, you think that, and you're going to find yourself having war after war. Like, now I'm not talking about a figurative war. I'm talking about niggas killing each other, trying to get supremacy in this country for their own interpretation of the Bible. So be careful what you ask for, because it might be the very thing that destroys your freedom. And the very thing that gives you that freedom, the Constitution, is the thing that is going to ensure that gay people and LGBT and people can define for themselves what is traditional. People can define for themselves what is normal, so long as it's between consenting adults. And why are you so worried? Why are people so worried about what people do in their bedrooms, man? Like, anyway, forget about it. Black church got to get it together, man. Because there's so many other good reasons to oppose Pete Buttigieg. This nigga had the nerve. And I generally use nigga as a term of endearment. But if I ever refer to a white person as a nigga, trust me, it's not a term of endearment. This dude had the nerve to say, oh, we could have that conversation. I know there's a lot of gamers who think that they have the right to use the N-word. Uh-oh. I don't see the red light. No, I see the red light still. Okay. We could talk about that. I guarantee you I will say it on my show as much as I want to. and would challenge you head to head about it if you repeated it and you're not black. It's just what it is. So anyway, this dude, Pete Buttigieg, had the unmitigated gall to say that this race was now between him and Elizabeth Warren. Pete Buttigieg is like one of the biggest sociopaths, and I really mean that in probably in the clinical definition of it, right? And not just to be throw around a pejorative. Because, think about this. This dude graduated from Harvard and then enlisted and then went to the military as an officer. And he didn't make a career out of it. He just kind of did a little quick tour. It'd be different if all his life he wanted to be in the military, but no, he's done with the military. I guess what he did was 4 years and got out. After he left Harvard, you know how many people, if they had an opportunity to go to Harvard, would never see basic training? They would never touch the military ever. And you know how many people, poor people, are forced into the military because that's their only way out? And this dude decided to go on a tour of the military of Iraq, go on the tour in the military through Iraq, just so he could put it on his resume. That's some sociopathic, that's craziness. That makes absolutely no sense. That is a person who thinks he's entitled to become the president of the United States and is trying to make a resume to fit it. I guess he's a real soldier, but still, whatever. A sociopath and a mediocre dude who's barely able to take care of his town. He's a mayor, and the people of his town don't even like him. The citizens of his town don't even like him. This dude is a guy who says that the race is down between him and Elizabeth Warren. Dude, you forgot the biggest elephant in the room of them all, Bernie Sanders. Bernard effing Sanders. Just the arrogance, man. Like Bernie Sanders has done, hell, not even take Bernie Sanders out of it. I've done more politically than you. I mean, not really, but still. The point remains. Like, all this dude has done is run for mayor, and now he's got a good PR team that's put him on the map, but now he's trying to disregard the guy who's been consistent for 40 years, his entire life. Bernie Sanders came out of his mother's womb talking about Medicare for all. Come on, man. So many reasons to oppose Pete Buttigieg, and that preacher had to go and I like Paul Morton, but not anymore, man. Give me Carlton Pearson. Look him up if you don't know who he is. So anyway, this is going forever. I'm on level 20, and as you can tell, this is not going to end anytime soon, but my thumbs are hurting because this is the third time I've tried to record this, and I'm old. I can't be playing this shit. But anyway, I've been playing Tetris since it came out in '87. Yeah. And I saw all those guys playing. I'm like, those speeds don't impress me much. Like these speeds are like, and this is actually pretty easy. As you can tell, I'm like, maybe if I make a mistake, I got to do a couple of adjustments to get it nice and clean and neat. But in general, this is pretty easy. I want to get to level 26, 27. I wonder if I can make it to level 30 one day. I gotta flip that out of the way sometimes. You gotta know when your religion is intersecting with white supremacy, people. I know that came out of the blue, but that's the moral of the story. If your religion is being used to support American imperialism, capitalism, or white supremacy, your interpretation of your religion is wrong. Or it's one that's self-destructive. Like, why would you as a black person forward any idea that's going to support white supremacy, American imperialism, or all the things that all of the evils that help devastate the black community? So anyway, whatever. People even watch Tetris, like, we shall see. Uh-oh, I messed up. Let's clean it up a little bit. Yep, there we go. Gonna get some cleaning. That's what I'm looking for right there. Right there. 2, I'm actually tired of talking about politics too. Damn, I'm at another 30 minutes already. You know what? I better stop here because I don't want my recording space to run out. All right, I'm stopping here. You guys see I can do it. All right. Boom. Let's end this.